Hello, I'm T on the TamBoTC channel, and today we're going to talk about my number 10 through hopefully 5. There'll probably be a lot to talk about with this number 10, surprisingly, because I have a lot to say with because since I'm talking about the sequels as well and why I may or may not have chose them, I want to talk about them anyways and get them off my back forever, because this next one is number 10, Last of Us. And I choose, of course, the first Last of Us and not the second one because I hate it. But I'll talk more into that. So when it comes to Last of Us 1, it's just such a brilliantly made game. The emotions are at like such highs. It really gets touching. It hits you in your feels relatable on the terms of loss better than the second game. I feel like the second game ruins the message of the first game's use of loss and such, where there's still like hope in this bleak world here and there. There's still light to the dark within the darkness of this bleak post-apocalyptic world, and I feel like the second game is just mostly dark. Like, I've seen games that I also realize, like, funny enough, after watching like Negi Jakey, I realized the story really isn't that new, because it basically is like a grittier version of like Pocahontas and Avatar, where it just doesn't really do a whole lot new with its themes and story, and it does not execute it well either. But yeah, I did not enjoy the second one. I loved the character, even the side characters were super memorable, from Tommy and Tess, sorry, I almost said Jess, I don't know why. Were just all very interesting characters, even with the short time some of them were given. They were well developed, very likable, very interesting, and they were flawed, excellently crafted characters for that world. And I love the daughter-father relationship, yet the kind of anti-hero setup that Joel takes. I would have liked it to see the anti-hero kind of side of Joel done better in, like, not as like an anti-hero, but I would have loved to see it better. And I love just the games got way more replay value than the second game. The second game's only got a little bit of replay value, like very tiny, because the first game got multiplayer and DLC. So screw the second game when it comes to that. I don't get why people are saying there's replay value. Especially when they don't do anything innovative or new with the gameplay and stuff. It's basically the same stuff. Like, it's on a technical level, yeah, it's an amazing game, but so is the first game. And the remaster is probably the best version of any of those games. It's very stylistic, but also trying to be realistic too at the same time. But it like ages so well because of its story and such, or the second game doesn't. Like, the fact that it's focused on this, like, it is a generic story we have seen before. It's the characters that hold it up and keep you going on your quest to see what happens next, like a really good TV show, kind of like Mandalorian or something. But yeah, I love the depth to the characters and the world. It just feels so believable. It never breaks your immersion. I love the music, the atmosphere. Once again, atmosphere is always a great thing to any game. I love the levels, stealth mechanics, all that. I also love how, like, Negi Jakey pointed out, Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater did the whole proning and hiding in tall grass thing before Last of Us Part 2. So that's another diss at stinking... Okay, I'm Garrus. Thought I saw a different skin for a sec. But that's another jab at stinking Last of Us Part 2, is just, like, nothing it does new is actually new. So, yeah, like, Last of Us, I love and it has a personal connection with my grandmother, too. My grandmother loved Last of Us 1. She would have been so ashamed and angry seeing the second piece of garbage game. The first game just had such a touching personal connection between... I actually never got to complete the first game for quite a while because my grandmother never got to see the game all the way through to the end. And when I finally came back to the game after my grief and sorrow of losing her, I connected so much with the game, and when I saw that ending, I just thought, like, what would my grandmother think? She would be really surprised by that ending. Like, it would be such a... It's such a unique game that it just... Like, I still think about the ending today, even though the second game, it's hard to live up to that, but it also ruins it in its execution and such. So I want to, before I talk about the second game, I want to say, I don't care about the controversy of Joel dying, spoilers by the way, and I don't care about, like, big buff Abby. That stuff isn't my problem. My problem is everything else. The pacing is all over the place, where the pacing was just perfect in the first game. The pacing's all over the place with stupid vision sequences or like flashbacks that were within flashbacks, then flashbacks trying to catch up with the current time period. It's just really stupid. There's stupid romance with Abby and whatever, who is a traitor and a jerk. It's kind of hard to see them get together, but then again, Abby's a jerk too. A lot of the characters are jerks and unlikable in general. There's some really dumb, cringy lines in the game too that I forgot even happened. The whole like message of the game is kind of like contradictory and thrown aside when the whole game's focused on the fun being the violent moments and such. It's just really contradictory to itself, and I feel like it's that kind of... It feels like Neil Druckmann is Zack Snyder, but with a better, like, he's clearly got better like developers and stuff that make a more presentation-wise better looking world and game and acting compared to a Zack Snyder movie now. But it's still in the same concept that like Zack Snyder is trying to be deep and think that like, oh, what he's saying is so deep, or maybe even Rian Johnson with Last Jedi. Oh, what I'm saying is so deep, but it's just basically them being a bunch of scumbags and nothing they're saying is truly deep. It's just all fake. It feels so fake. I don't like any of how this story was executed and such. The gameplay I don't care about. I don't care about the better animations and stuff. Another thing is the world is just like with the plot armor bits, which are parody of themselves. It's so dumb. And the execution of certain things are so quick and dumb. The characters are barely developed, but and the use of like characters shouting other characters' names when they get killed is kind of pointless, especially when they show a body of a character named Danny that we don't have an absolute clue about. Really dumb. And then the stuff, it's about to be nighttime, and then the stuff like just the stinking... This game is all over the place with its pacing. It's ridiculous. The characters we don't care about. They're unlikable jerks. And before we even get to really know anything about them or care, they die off before we do. So it's kind of pointless. It's just all over the place. I can't believe this game. And it goes to show that the Game Awards really, like, everybody voting, like, really the players don't have that much a say on the Game of the Year. Game of the Year means nothing, and I'm probably never going to watch the next Game Awards because of that awful Game Awards. It just made no sense because there's not very little replay value or reason to come back to Last of Us Part 2. What it's trying to say, thinking that it's deep, really isn't deep and has already been done before, but deeper and executed better. Even Avatar executed it better. I at least go back to Avatar and have fun with that movie and at least enjoy its dumbness, even if it's not executed all that well. It's at least better and more enjoyable and doesn't destroy its characters like Last of Us Part 2 does. And then we got the ending is terrible. It makes no sense when stinking Ellie's killing all these other characters in forced cutscenes and stuff. And the fact that characters keep saving one another. Like saying, oh, I won't let you die, but I hope I never see you in this town again. And that keeps happening. It's so dumb, and then Ellie doesn't. It's just like, it makes no sense. All 3 times it happens, or all whatever times it happens. And there's certain things like Abby being saved by Joel that was really dumb. Stinking Tommy telling them basically everything about themselves, even though they wouldn't be that trustworthy. It's just really dumb. There's a lot of character assassination. It's so cringy, it's so dumb, it's so badly written in parts, where it's just like, it's so sad because it looks like a disguise over a bad game, like a great looking game over a bad game. Because it does have subtlety, but not so subtle, with just a lot of its stupid moments. It's like the presentation throws you off. It's like a really nice looking game, but everything underneath is ugly. That's kind of how I describe Last of Us. It's like deceivingly bad. But yeah, it just does not age in its story, and there's so many elements that throw me off. Like, I can't remember much about the cult. I just remember the cult is super unrealistic. Let's not even touch on the pregnant lady that goes out in battle. That's so dumb. Especially when all the characters it tries to make you sad when you kill her, even though possibly any of the female characters you killed throughout the game were possibly in the first stages of pregnancy, which is so dumb when you think about it. But then there's just so much immersion breaking. So dumb. I love how they even changed the outfit of the doctor, who's the father of Abby. And Abby's just got that Captain Marvel acting where she's just, the only emotion she has is anger. And of course the manipulation using the dogs. Ellie being bad because she kills the dogs, but look, Abby's good because she doesn't. She pet the doggies. Like, come on. So dumb. They have guts, but not in the right way and not executed well to make this story. It was just, I think it was too far, too stupid, poorly written in many places, just a little all over the place. The plot is all over the place too. There's just too much going on for somebody to follow, where Last of Us 1 is a lot easier, but still has a lot of depth to it. Like this, Last of Us 2 is the wrong amount of depth. It's just too much that it feels like it's trying to be deeper than it actually is on the surface. And I know I'm repeating myself in places, but that's how I truly feel about it. It's just really dumb. What makes no sense about its Game Award winning is that it is, I know God of War won, but it's a PlayStation exclusive. It's only on PlayStation, and there's Ghost of Tsushima to compete with. Not only that, but every other game that's was put for Game of the Year award was also on every other list that Last of Us was on. So it just made no sense whatsoever. It was clear what was going on there. Somebody had to pay off somebody just to get it. The old drunk man. Dunk on man. But his characters are so poorly developed. His characters are unlikable jerks. All of them. And just, there's no sad moments. The moments that get to you for different reasons completely. It just does not have the heart of the original or soul. And I don't care what, it's hard to live up to the original. It's not as good. And it's way too long. I don't care about accessibility. They should have probably had stuff, the collecting stuff everywhere was annoying. I know there's an option to turn on collecting stuff automatically, but it's just dumb. Just so dumb. It should be turned on already. I don't care how realistic your game's trying to be. I already saw that stuff with Red Dead 2 and such. So you really don't do anything new there either. And you're not as accessible when games like Gears of War can still even let you turn off swearing and blood and all that. But you don't. So I don't agree with anything with Last of Us. There's just so many, everything it does that's supposedly new, we've already seen done better or before. It's just not a good game. Not at all. Man, just a disaster. And what I was saying with the cult thing that just breaks me out of the immersion is I think the cult hates... Was the cult hate transgenders? And I'm not saying anything bad, by the way. I'm just using this as an example. I'm not saying anything bad towards, like, be who you want to be. Whatever. I'm not gonna stop you. I can't stop you. Whatever. I don't know what to say. It's hard not to be contradictory and canceled. No, but what I'm trying to get at is I just don't find that believable in a post-apocalyptic world with zombies. A more believable cult is something like Unitology in Dead Space, where they believe the zombies are the next step in evolution for them. Therefore, they sacrifice themselves to those necromorphs to become necromorphs themselves. That is much more believable than whatever the cult believes in Last of Us. I don't know if that is what it is, but it just... stuff like that breaks my immersion. And then you have to think, like, why are there so many human enemies in a post-apocalyptic world? It's just so dumb. So dumb. I don't care about the puzzles. After I saw the puzzles in Last of Us 1, they were okay, but seeing puzzles, whether they were done uniquely, like the rope puzzles, but not as much, I didn't care. There wasn't enough to sustain it or keep me interested. I'm sorry if I did say anything, like, if anything did come across rude what I was saying. I just wanted to say that it just something like that is not believable. It's more believable if, like, they believe their next step in evolution is the zombies. That's way more believable. And that would explain why there's so little people, too, in the world. Instead of there's more people. Like, if that's the case, then there probably would be less people in general. Not saying anything rude or anything like that. Just I don't find anything of it believable in the first place. It's just so dumb and poorly written. I don't know why people don't understand, like, that doesn't work, but I don't know. It's so hard to talk about that. And that's why I don't want to talk about this game ever again. This is the last time I'm talking about this stupid game. It is such a leap from this first game. Like, the first game is perfect. Second game, garbage. But I can't say it's a definitively bad or even average game. It's still somewhat above average. But those elements that it does poorly are really painful to sit through. Really painful. The game almost feels like torture at that point, especially on a second playthrough. Just, oh, so painful. Such a painful experience. So, Last of Us 1 is just such a game where The Last of Us 2 leaves you in a gray spot with no hope. Also, I want to touch on the ending real quick. You know how Ellie loses her fingers and it's like, oh, I can't play guitar anymore. That's unrealistic. I have a friend who lost his index and thumb, and he can still play Smash Brothers. By the way, switch your hand around. Use your fingerless hand or whatever to strum at the chords in the other hand that has all of its fingers. Just turn the guitar around, you idiots. That's another reason why I don't think the depth of that, like, oh, it's the last connection she had to Joel. No! There's still plot holes even with that. Learn all over again. I know she lost her family, she now established, but that also spits in the face of what Joel would have wanted for her. That entire game literally spits on Joel and Ellie. It's so disgusting. I love they have her on the front cover, yet she is not as much a focus as Abby, and the whole revenge plot is just so dumb and generic. I hate it. The game just becomes so predictable because of that. Like, after the Joel moment, you just think what else could they do that's such a high bar to set? That is such a high bar to set, killing off Joel. and they just never reach that bar again. It's just so generic, so flatlined the rest of the way through. I just hate it. I hate it. I'm done with Last of Us. I'm glad I'm done, but I will talk about the first game any day. Second game, this is all I have to say about it. Once again, I do apologize if anything rude came across, or it came across nasty, or whatever it may be. I don't mean anything nasty by it. Nothing. I just want to get that out of the way. I'm done. Screw that game. Anyways, let's move on to my number 9. I've talked a lot about that. This might as well be a rant on Last of Us 2. The video. And by the way, if you make rude comments, at least be like, I'm losing my mind here. At least be like respectable in your opinions when you want to point out your opinion on the game. It's fine to like the game. Once again, I want to let that be known, but that's just my personal opinion. It's the same with this entire list. I don't know if I remember saying that, but this is all just my personal opinion on what I think is the best game on my top 20. These are my personal favorites and my personal least favorites that I'll probably be talking about in places, and Last of Us 2 was a least favorite. That is a very disappointing and bad game, in my opinion, this year. So, let's move on to number 9 before I go insane. Number 9 is surprisingly Gears of War. I gotta sleep again. I'm sorry that I'm not doing much either. Like, I'm so focused on talking about this stuff. So, Gears of War, the reason I put this up is I'm actually good at Gears of War. I love its gameplay. I really get into the loop of it. I have a lot of fun. It's just such a fun experience to have with the Gears of War games. I enjoy them deeply. Gears 1 and 2 haven't aged as well. Gears 1's more about the world, where Gears 2 leans more into the characters, and I love Queen Mira. The villains are great, but short and simple in the games. I think ROM has a lot more development in like the DLC, and there's an actual season pass that's actual season pass instead of just a bunch of multiplayer maps in 3. Kind of like what 4 did. I hate 4's microtransactions. Same with 5, but 5 at least gave us another campaign for free, which is cool. And there are other maps for free, so I can give 5 leeway. I also love the direction the story's going and characters. In some cases, I think some of the characters are kind of butchered, but in some cases I do like the story direction. I just don't know what they're going to do for 6. Tactics is pretty cool as well. I love tactics. But yeah, Gears of War, I think Gears of War 3 is my favorite. And Judgment's not bad, but I hate the human versus human kind of aspect to the multiplayer they had. That was dumb. But I really enjoy the campaign of all these. The reason I'm picking 3 is not only did I get a Xbox 360 and the collector's edition versions of that game, because I was so hyped, and so was my brother. We had such a connection with Gears, and I didn't originally like Gears at first, actually, because it was too generic to me. Didn't have much, but I got into it and its story and characters later, and I really loved the gameplay. I got good at it even. Not as good as other like professional players, like really hardcore players, but good enough that I can say I can handle this. I can do the wall bouncing or the use of the Nasher's hitbox and stuff in your own hitbox. I can really get down. As well as I'm known for having the thumb of war, because I can use my thumb really quickly to mash quicker than anybody else. I got like the fastest thumb in the West to get into a Lancer fight with someone. So I would love to do that with anybody who claims to be faster. But yeah, I love Gears of War. I love its characters. I think Rom was even, as well as Queen Mira, is an excellent villain and so interesting in 3. There's so much like personal development. I love the level layouts and the stuff they add, how much more fast-paced Gears 3 is from the others. Like, you can tell the controls are getting more smoothened out and quicker in each game. I love some of the horror elements, and I love the where the direction of the story. 3 is just such a great conclusion to the series. It's also the saddest game of them. 2 got close, but I loved 3. 3 was even sadder with its moments. Just kind of like, it was kind of like a more like action-packed version of Last of Us with just really great character moments, and I just loved everything about it. It was so fun, so interesting, just, and it's a game I can get into a groove with. And its season pass actually has content that is legit. I think 5 will be my second place favorite just because it's actually doing some good, but it's still got those microtransactions here and there. So I give it a, as well as this campaign feels very short compared to the other Gears games. Yeah, and I love the music. I love the Mad World rendition in that game. So good. Such a good game in general. Let's see. Maybe I should do because the chickens are like this area is actually kind of empty feeling. Do I have any more eggs? I do. I have 2 more. There we go. We got 2 chickens up here. Yeah, that's my number 9, I believe. Yeah, my 9. Gears of War 3. And then we had, and of course my connection with the family. My brother and me played a lot of Gears of War, and I play with my friends, or at least I try to. They're afraid of playing with me, because I'm actually good at the game. They were pretty good at the game for a while, but like I got back into a groove. I've had times where I was away from stinking Gears of War so long that I kind of lost my groove with the game. But once I get back into it, my friends have a hard time beating me. Yeah, and then number 8 is going to be Red Dead Redemption, but which one? My grandmother, just like Last of Us, but she actually got to the end of this game and was really sad by John Marston's death. Spoiler alert. It was just such a great world and characters. It was such a unique game. I loved it. We don't get to see many westerns, especially good western games. Red Dead 1 was just so excellent. I had a connection with my grandmother, and I can imagine how she'd feel about the second one. I think she'd have even stronger feelings about the second one, just because she gets to see John Marston back, and Arthur Morgan is such a good character that he almost beats out John Marston as being better, because I like him that much, and my grandmother probably would have too. But I love the setting of that game. It still looks beautiful. It's fun in its own ways. I know it's got some problems here and there, but I still really enjoy 2. 2's got so much to it. I know it's trying to be so realistic in parts, but that realism does really help immerse me and have fun with the little pieces here and there and be as impressed as I am with it. But I really, really enjoyed Red Dead 2, and I think I'm picking it for this spot because of that connection we would have had, and I do have, as well as it just got so many tear-jerking moments out of me from the game. It's just so brilliantly laid out. I know it's really long, and it's got some outdated gameplay design, but it's just too good, its story and character development, to pass off. And I enjoy its gameplay aspects. I kind of like the multiplayer better, especially since it's got its own campaign, and it's still fun in its own way and ridiculous. I love using your little lasso rope, whatever, to tie up your friend and drag him across the ground or hang him high from a rooftop. So fun. Such a fun game. Such a brilliantly made game. So good. I'm so glad Red Dead 2 exists. Let's move on to my number 7. Where Red Dead really immersed me in its world, and there's so much I can do with its world, and I still want to do certain things, like I have a survival setup I want to do. I love the variety to the game, the outfits, the weapons, all that stuff, and just how much you can do in the game in general. So good. But next is Skyrim, surprisingly. I almost picked Morrowind. Now I want to talk about Oblivion. You can tell what the game's going to be all about just from the beginning with its use of music and its tutorial level. Morrowind The original games haven't aged quite as well graphically and such, but I do love Daggerfall's Giant World, and there's just so much about ESO and stinking blades that I do not give a crap about. But Skyrim is just so good, so immersive. I love like, if you don't have mods, it's still a really fun game. It's so addictive. I keep coming back to it. I have a personal level with both friends and family that really get into it. Same with Morrowind. Morrowind was probably my second favorite. It has stronger RPG elements, but not so much stronger gameplay elements. Like, I find the gameplay a little bit more fun and even in depth in some cases in Skyrim. I don't know, and there's such crazy builds you can make with Skyrim. It's so cool. I love the worlds of each of them. There's so much variety to the worlds of Morrowind and Skyrim, especially with the different locations, and each location is like a painting. So great. I love how the music of Skyrim is more epic and cinematic, kind of more action-packed. It kind of speaks volumes of that game, and so does the beginning of the game. And it doesn't tell you, like, right away you're the chosen one. It's like an ironic chosen one, because the villains that you're supposed to slay, destined to slay, saves you, and you don't find out you're Dragonborn until a little bit later on, after doing a couple of quests, important quests. So then, I love the companion system and such, and marriage system. I love the your own house or build your own house. The DLCs are awesome. There's even a Morrowind themed DLC that's excellent and just brings me back to the old days of Morrowind. Does a great job. I love the villains. Alduin's a great villain. I love that he's kind of the same as Sephiroth, where Sephiroth has very little he's talked about mostly rather than shown or seen of his evil deeds, but you still see a lot of Alduin doing stuff, and he's very intimidating. He's the biggest dragon, clearly, and he has 2 boss battles. I love how people talk about how his boss battles are lame. His boss battle is lame, but he's got 2 boss battles technically, and I like both of them. When you describe the boss battles, there's just so much more epic than maybe they look, but they're still really good. They're still really fun. I don't feel like the game leaves you off just randomly with a ending that feels lifeless. I don't agree with that. There's still choices and after-game stuff to do at the end. And I love the world. I love like, when you describe fighting Alduin the first time, it's like you're on the throat of the world, fighting alongside Mario Dragon Parthenax, one of the eldest dragons, and you're fighting Alduin raining down meteor showers on you, and it's such a cool fight to describe. And you have to use the Elder Scroll to know what his weakness is, Dragon Rend, to be able to stand a chance against him. He is pretty difficult in that first fight. You go into the past, and just like knowing that your character can survive looking at an Elder Scroll without going blind just speaks how awesome he is, because he's able to survive looking at that thing without going blind. It's so cool. And then you go to Sovngarde, which is an amazing looking place. Alduin's picking off people for energy in that place, using fog to hide himself or conceal himself. You come to this cool ribcage bridge there with a giant protecting it, and you have to fight him and win against him in battle. Then you get to cross that bridge into the cool building of Sovngarde, where there are not only people who have died alongside your quests and you get to meet again in Sovngarde, but you also get to meet these, like, powerful dragonborns that you have to gain their favor to fight by your side alongside you against Alduin in the last battle. And you all you cross the bridge together, ready to fight. Use your shouts to blow away his concealing mist, to finally have him come out for the last battle, where you and these ancient dragonborns fight alongside each other, and your reward being that you can summon one of those dragonborns, or multiple of them even, which is just really cool. I don't think you can summon all of them, but I think there are, like, different spells for different characters, or maybe it'll pick a random one of the dragonborn guys to spawn. But whatever it is, it's such a cool moment, and Alduin explodes at the end of it, and it looks really cool. You can interact and talk to all the other characters too, and there's just a lot of dialogue moments. There's still choices to be made, and there's still effects in the world, like, say, remember the Thieves. I still really enjoy the Thieves Guild and Daedra quests that are short but sweet, where Oblivion's quests might be too long and sour even, and a lot of the dungeons blend together, where I think there's more variety to Skyrim's, as well as I do love the quests, even a lot of the side quests. There's just a lot more of an enjoyment factor to Skyrim, as well as with the better art style. It's just such a more appealing, nicer looking game. And I love its redesigns of monsters and stuff. They just look so cool. I love that the world doesn't feel like generic fantasy, kind of like Oblivion. I hate the Mages Guild because that guild drags on too long and has one of the worst puzzles. You barely use magic in that guild, which is your point, and the characters are so forgettable and annoying. I just did not like the Mages Guild, where I liked where the only guilds that were good were Thieves and stinking Dark Brotherhood. But even like Thieves was kind of disappointing because like they gave you the Elder Scrolls an important moment for a guild quest instead of the main quest line. That's kind of dumb. And the final boss is killed in a cutscene by Sean Bean instead of you as a dragon. That's really quickly over. That's kind of lame. I just didn't like it as much. Oblivion just didn't stand out as much, and it has that generic fantasy music and that generic "you're the chosen one" beginning, with a very short-lived Patrick Stewart character. It's like, I saw you in a dream, and conveniently, the passage we have to take is conveniently in your cell, and you kind of came out of nowhere. I did not like it, and I know that's kind of the same deal going on with the prisoner being taken to into Skyrim, but I at least believe that a little bit better than stinking Oblivion's. Because you're already in that place, kind of like you teleported there, where in this one you can at least believe that you were picked up for a crime and then brought to your execution. And you're just like living those moments of you being brought there. So I love it. I think the convenience of it is more believable and ironic even than the convenience of Oblivion. And Morrowind's just really excellent. It's kind of like it's like you start out a prisoner being brought to your destination, you sign some papers, and then the game just says, okay, figure things out yourself. It just lets you loose in the world, kind of like Breath of the Wild. I love that. I love it. And just excellent RPG elements and stuff. It's got the randomized kind of dice roll combat, as well as stamina is a little annoying to deal with, but other than that, and it hasn't aged too well with its graphics, but I'll take its look and graphics over Oblivion any day and its ugly character models. So I just love Morrowind and Skyrim. They come really close to being one better than the other, but I think I'm going to go with Skyrim just because I keep coming back to the game. Then there's mods, and then there's Skyrim together. It's just such a good game. It has as much replay value to it as I do with this game, Minecraft. So I think I'm going to end the episode there. I hope you enjoyed. Like, share, and subscribe. Leave your comments below, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!